To help you further explore mobility in areas that may interest you, the Opportunity Atlas allows you to overlay geographic data to create boundaries or dots as an overlay on the map. Let's look at an example of how to add elementary school attendance zones on the atlas. Begin by navigating to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen and clicking on Overlay Your Data. In the new menu that pops up in the center of your screen, you're given two ways to import places or boundaries, either by uploading a file or by entering locations in the text box below. To add, for example, Washington, D.C.'s elementary school attendance zones for the 2018-2019 school year, which can be found open source online at locations like data.gov. After acquiring a shapefile, click on the Choose a File button and select the shapefile in your file library. The atlas will then process the data from the shapefile and present you with the contents. From this menu, you have the option to change the name that will be given to the set of boundaries. Additionally, clicking on the Boundary Color button will allow you to change the color of the outline as it will appear on the map. When you've completed your chosen customization, click Save to add the boundaries to the atlas. Now, as you can see, the Import Places or Boundaries menu indicates that these boundaries are uploaded. The checkmark to the left allows you to toggle these uploads on and off, depending on if and when you want to display them on the atlas. Closing the menu will let you see the elementary school attendance zones on the atlas. Instead of overlaying boundaries, let's now consider how to add a series of dots on the map to represent locations. Navigate back to the Upload menu by clicking Overlay Your Data on the bottom left corner of the screen. We can either add locations by uploading a CSV file or by entering information in the text box below. Let's consider an example where you want to enter a small number of locations. In such a case, it may be faster to manually paste the data into the text box rather than create and upload a separate file. Each location ought to be on its own line, with each line providing at minimum the latitude and longitude or address for each place separated by commas. First, we begin with an address like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C. 20500, without including any commas within the address itself. Next, we enter the title of the location, White House, which will be displayed when we hover over the dot on the atlas. Then the description for the location, President's House, and finally a label to be displayed next to the dot on the map, White House. Clicking Import Pasted Data will result in the atlas loading the location, giving you the option to customize the marker color, and finally displaying it after you click Save. Now let's consider a case where you have numerous locations to input. In this situation, it may be advisable to upload a CSV file. Here, we will use an example file which contains the latitudes and longitudes of housing developments that are receiving low-income housing tax credits in the Washington, D.C. area. Navigating back to the atlas and the Import Places or Boundaries menu, we can click Choose a File and upload the D.C. location data. Again, after the data loads, we are given the option to select a name for the series of places at the top of the menu and to select the color of the dots using the Place Color button. Looking at Washington, D.C. on the atlas reveals our markers at each of the coordinates included in the CSV file. In our upload, we also have the option to include labels and descriptions for each dot placed on the map. For example, let's look at a new CSV file that identifies all of the bank locations in Washington, D.C. The first column with non-number contents, here, the name of each bank, will become the label for the location on the atlas, while the second non-number column, here, each bank's street address, will upload as its description. Again, we are given the option to select a name for these markers at the top of the menu and to select the color of the dots displayed using the Place Color button. After clicking Save, we can look at Washington, D.C. on the atlas and see that our new bank locations are all displayed, each with its corresponding label and description. At any time, navigating back to the Import Places or Boundaries menu will allow you to change the color of the dots by clicking on the pencil icon, or toggle them on or off using the checkmark button. You can view more tutorials about using the Opportunity Atlas, get answers to commonly asked questions, and download research papers at opportunityinsights.org/atlas resources.